Sheets, Google Sheets, that is. In this video, I am going to show how you can use xlookup. Now, xlookup is a function on Google Sheets or on Excel that allows you to search information from two or more spreadsheets, compare, and then consolidate that information into one spreadsheet. Now, when we're using xlookup, first we need to start off with at least two spreadsheets. So I have my two spreadsheets. One is sample Cambium current registration, and one is my sample test hound enrollment. The test hound enrollment will give me a better idea of which students are currently enrolled in my district, while the Cambium data will let me know which students I've already registered to Cambium. So I'm going to start off by copying this Cambium registration sheet over to the test hound enrollment sheet. I'm going to select the tab, then hover over copy to and choose existing spreadsheet. I'm going to search in my Google Drive for the document that has my test hound enrollment. I'm going to choose recent. And then I can see that the sample test hound document is right here. So I'm going to press insert. And then I'm going to click open spreadsheet. Now, when I look at the bottom of my screen, I can see that I have sample test hound enrollment. And then over here, it says copy of the sample Cambium registration. When I'm going to do xlookup, first I need to see what is shared between the two sheets. When I look here, I see that I have students' information and I have their TSDS ID number. This is on the Cambium side. Over on the test hound side, I also see the TSDS ID. It's in a different column, but that's okay. Sometimes when you are using data from different spreadsheets, the format of the numbers can vary. So I like to first adjust the format of my numbers. I said already that I'm going to be comparing the TSDS ID number. So on my test hound enrollment sheet, I'm going to select column A by clicking the A. I'm going to format, then choose number. It says automatic, but I don't want automatic. I want this option at the bottom because that is going to format all of these numbers with the same number of digits. All right, I'm good there on test hound enrollment, and I'm going to do the same thing for my Cambium registration numbers. This time, however, my TSDS ID numbers are in column G, so I'm going to select column G. I'm going to select format, number, and then I'm also, once again, looking for this number here that shows the correct number of digits I'm looking for. Now I can be sure that both of my spreadsheets have the same number format and the data should return successfully. Now, when I'm going to start xlookup, first I need an empty column. When I'm on my Cambium registration tab, I see that these two columns are both empty. So I'm going to choose this first one to use to write my formula. You want to make sure you're using an empty column so that you don't receive any errors when you try to do the formula. Now, xlookup starts off with an equal sign. So equal sign, and then I'm going to type xlookup and press tab. The first item I need is the lookup value. This is basically the target of my search. I already said I'm using TSDS ID as my lookup value. So I'm going to select the first lookup value, which is cell G2. Then I'm going to write a comma. Now I need to find the lookup range. The lookup range is where am I going to search for this TSDS ID on the other spreadsheet I'm using? I already know I'm looking in column A, so I'm going to select all of column A. And if I look at my formula right here or right here, I can see that it selected all of column A in my sample test hound enrollment sheet. Now I'm going to write another comma. And I need to enter in my return range. The return range is what answer do I want to get from my test found enrollment. In this case, I like to use something like the student's last name because that way I can see if it matches with the information that's on my other spreadsheet. So I'm going to select all of column E in this example. To end the formula, I need to enter a close parentheses, and then I'm just going to press enter. I'll know that my formula worked if it matches what it says over here in student's last name on my Cambium sheet. And here, this happens to match. If I see not applicable, or rather hashtag not applicable, that could mean that either there's something wrong with my formula. That could mean that I did not format the numbers before I started writing the formula, or it could simply mean that this student does not exist on the other spreadsheet. So what I like to do is press Control C on my keyboard to copy cell D2. I'm going to press Control Spacebar, and that's going to select all of this column. And then I'm going to press Control V, which will paste the formula into all of these empty cells. Now, if I scroll down, I can see that a lot of these students have corresponding last names from the test found enrollment, but there are some that pop up non-applicable. This must mean that these students are not enrolled at my school any longer. I had them registered on Cambium, but if it's not applicable in the test on enrollment, that tells me that these students actually need to be removed from Cambium since they are no longer enrolled in my district. Now, I'm going to go ahead and filter this column. I'm going to click the button over here that says More, and I'm going to choose the option that says Create a Filter. I am going to click this little triangle to filter. And down here, I see there's 253 results. I don't need all of those. So instead, what I'm going to do is click Clear. And in my search bar, I'm going to search for hashtag NA. That means not applicable. Those are the only students that I need to find on this sheet. I'm going to click OK. Now, this is my list of students who need to be removed from Cambium. So what I'm going to do is click this plus button to add a sheet. I am going to rename the sheet to remove from Cambium. That's a note to myself so I know what these students are. I'm going to come back to my sample of Cambium registration sheet that has everyone filtered. I'm going to click Control A to select all, Control C to copy. And then over here, I'm going to click Control Shift V, and that will paste exactly what was just copied. So now I have this list of 21 students who need to be removed from Cambium. Now, I also need to figure out which students need to be added to Cambium. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on my sample Cambium registration tab, except I'm going to do that over on the test town enrollment. So I'm going to unfilter my results by selecting them all again. And I'm coming over to sample test town enrollment. So once again, I already formatted my numbers. I do not need to do that again. I am going to decide which column I'm going to have my returned information in. I see column D is empty. I'm going to use that. I'm going to select cell D2, =, xlookup, open parentheses. I'm going to look for my TSDS ID number, which is over here in cell A2, comma. I need to find my lookup range, which was over here in sample Cambium registration, and my TSDS IDs are located in column G, so I'm going to select all of column G, comma. And then I need to figure out what is going to be my results range, and I also want to use student's last name again. Select all of column H, and then close parentheses, enter. Okay, that popped up the result I was looking for. Great. So I am going to copy this cell I'm going to press Control space, Control V to paste. And now I can see there are some students popping up here with not applicable. That means that the students where it says hashtag not applicable, I need to add them to Cambium because once again, this sheet was showing me who's currently enrolled in my district and who I need to add or register to Cambium. So I'm going to filter. Similar to what I did on the other sheet, I'm going to press clear. I'm going in my search bar, I'm going to type hashtag select. Okay. And then I can see my list of students who need to be added. I'm going to press add sheet. I'm going to name this add to Cambium. I'm going to come back to my sample test on enrollment. Control A to select everything showing up on this sheet currently. Control C to copy. And then back in here, I'm going to press Control Shift V. And that will paste all of my information. So now I can see exactly which students need to be added to Cambium and which students need to be removed from Cambium. This will make it much easier when I'm using the spreadsheet from Cambium to add or remove students. Best of luck when you try this out yourself.